If you like something so much once, do it again. Our guest here today won a state championship for Simon Kenton in 2016. He liked it so much, he decided, let's do this again in 2017. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
Hey, Casey Cornett, wrestled for Simon Kenton from 2014, 2013 through 2017. And a little bit before that in high school, but we talked about that last video.
Yeah, that had a stop at Dixie Heights there, but just a real quick recap of your state tournament run, Casey. 2014, 160 pounds as a freshman. You come in state runner-up. Not bad. You lose to Dominic Lampy of St. Xavier 10-4. 2015 as a sophomore, 182 pounds, third place. 2016, 170 pounds as a junior, state champion with an incredible 64-2 record. But your senior year, 2017, 170 pounds. Track has you with an overall record 56-3. And like we talked about in your other video, your 2016 video, we'll talk about here just briefly. You went to Fargo, Super 32, Flow Nationals, a couple other national tournaments. So you got to wrestle some of the best in the country on I don't want to say a weekly basis because they're kind of spread out, but you got to wrestle them on a pretty regular basis, correct?
For sure. Yeah. My junior and senior year, I would say probably it was bi-monthly. I was wrestling somebody in the top 15. I mean, that was kind of for that year and a half or so. It was definitely some tough wrestling, but I knew that was kind of where I was headed. My junior year, and then just my activity being at these tournaments all the time, getting not just placing at them, but getting the recognition of being at these tournaments on a weekly, bi-monthly basis. So definitely felt like I was kind of coming into my own, and that's where it started to feel like the competition got better for sure.
I understand. Now, did you ever become like nationally ranked through Flow or anything like that?
I believe so, yes. I don't remember what I ended like as far as my weight class ranking. I have to look that up, and I don't want to just throw a number out there.
No, I get it. That's cool. I understand. Because anytime we can bring up that somebody was ranked in in one of the videos, I think that's cool to at least mention that you were ranked.
Try to figure it out for you by if anybody on here listening knows my mother, she can tell you anything about my career. So if I could probably ask her, but I know I was ranked like 60 something as a recruit for the year of 20. So it wasn't like it was overall the recruiting class, like the high 60s out of the top 100. So not too bad there, but I cannot remember if I was ranked at the end of my high school career. I have to look at that.
Okay, so here's what so everybody watching, if you're seeing a number right here, that means Casey was able to find out. If you don't, then we wasn't able to find out. So sometimes you just can't figure things out. But 2017, your year, you're a senior. You live in the era of social media. You live in the era of information can be shared so easily. You live in the message board era when the rankings were so easily available, and there for a long time, up until everybody kind of got the internet in the 2000s. Rankings was just basically who's friends with the coach. Okay, coach, who's in the 90s, early 2000s, 80s. All right, coach, so and so. Who do you think should be number one? Well, my kid should be number one. The whole team, ranked number one or whatever the case is. But the reason I bring that up is when and I like asking guys this question because we get so many different responses for it. When you walk into a gym, you walk into Woodford County's gym, you walk into Campbell County's gym, you walk into somewhere in Ohio, wherever you're wrestling at in high school, not necessarily in like a national tournament, but for representing Simon Kenton, did you kind of get like the glances like, oh my God, that's Casey Cornett,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there were sometimes where it felt a little weird just because like at the end of the day, I'm another high schooler trying to get the sweat in and learn something, like it I never got any sort of notoriety where it got out of hand. Like there might have been one or two people in the room that knew who I was before I walked in. My goal wasn't necessarily for them to know who I was when I walked in, but know who I was when I walked out. So
that's a great way to say that. I like that. I like that. We'll have to use that. Yeah, we'll have to use that. So, but like we said, you come in to your season ends, I should say, 56-3. So that's another 59 matches. That's a long season as well.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I think all three losses came at Ironman too. I tripled it. Yeah, I went.
The Ironman, in case you guys are not familiar with Ironman, probably in season tournaments, Ironman, Beast of the East are probably the two toughest in the country. I would have to imagine. Fargo's out of season. Super 32 is out of season. Flow Nationals are out of season. But Ironman, Beast of the East, man, you are in season for that.
Yeah, Ironman. Growing up, Ironman was the toughest tournament, like in or out of season for high school, for a really, really long time. Like as I came through elementary school and middle school, that was like, if you even got to qualify to go to Ironman out of Kentucky, you were a good wrestler. And so when I got older and we got to the point where it's like, maybe I can go my senior year, my coach, Steve Kaiser and Nathan Gilbert and Jared Peebles, and then we're like, they only ended up taking me. I think they took me out. Might have took Dante Castellano, if you remember who he was. I think they might have taken him, but I can't remember if he wrestled in the tournament. But it was a great experience. Ironman was a tough one. I got into the semis and then triple dipped out of it, so I got sixth. But not my best performance, but definitely an eye opener for sure. It was my only 3 losses on the whole year, and it was my first tournament of the whole year too. So.
Oh, well, yeah, and that's just you've been to a wrestling meet when you've been to the Ironman. You competed in the Ironman for real.
I was bruised 10 days after that tournament. So
it's not just a famous Ozzy Osbourne song or Black Sabbath song. I mean, it's a heck of a wrestling tournament. But you start off your senior state tournament with everybody kind of keep track of what I'm doing here. You start off first round with a fall over Matthew Quiggins from Fern Creek, 13 seconds.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember that one, to be honest. I mean, okay. Yeah. What was this? What was the school he was from? I might remember him.
Out of Louisville.
Fern Creek. Okay. Yeah.
Their colors are orange and black.
Yeah, but I do remember Fern Creek. Yeah, I remember the guy.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cool. A quick one. Yeah, I wrestled him a couple times that year, so that wasn't. I don't think we expected anything different, but he was a good guy. I remember.
I get it. You go to the second round. You're wrestling Caleb Oakley from Harrison County. You win that by a fall, 3 minutes 21 seconds. You get to the quarters. You're wrestling Austin Tolles from St. Xavier. You win that by a fall, 2 minutes 47 seconds. You get to the semis. You're wrestling Dion Lavelle from Christian County. You win that by a fall, 2 minutes 58 seconds. And Dion goes on to get third that year, 2018. He's a state runner-up at 182 pounds. That match video with Dylan Gray's on the channel from Caldwell County. So 4 matches, 4 pins so far. You're back in the finals again. You're wrestling Joe Jackson from Johnson Central. Now, we're not going to tell you the outcome. Like I said, pay attention. You might pick up on a few things. But you're back in the finals. Your third time in 4 years. Your last time wrestling in that, well, you may have wore the same, the Pioneer singlet to another tournament, but your last time getting to compete as a true high schooler. You're no matter win, lose, or draw, or I guess you couldn't draw, win or lose, if you will, last time getting to compete as a Simon Kenton Pioneer. Great career. I'm sure you want to go out and put an exclamation point on that career, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was the goal. It was, finish what you came there to do. You know, went into it very relaxed, ready to just, honestly, ready to complete the tournament because,
Mhm.
when you're still in it, that always is where the nerves are the highest. When you're, before weigh-ins and after the tournament's over, you feel like the nerves are going to be there still, and they're not. It's like
Mhm.
they're only there when you're still actively in the tournament. So that's always, I was always one that wanted to, like, hey, I don't need a 2 hour break. Let's wrestle. Like, I understand the format of a tournament, so
Yeah.
it was definitely that. Yeah, just getting through it. Making sure that I put a button on my career, finally um, show people, what I could do throughout the whole state tournament and what I tried to do for 3 years, which was pin through the state tournament. And I didn't get to do it until my senior year. So I did it.
Yep.
Sorry.
And no,
Sorry.
no, no. Not a problem. And here we are back at the horse park, back on the main mat. You're wrestling Joe Jackson from Johnson Central. Now, Joe, earlier, well, the way that wrestling goes is the wrestling season goes, I should say. The season starts October 15th. So the wrestling season started October 15th, 2016. It ends in February 2017. Just a few months prior, Joe was on Johnson Central's football team that won the 4A state championship. He was voted the MVP of the state 4A game. So Joe, heck of an opponent here.
Yeah, Joe is I realized this my junior and senior year. I don't know why I didn't ever pick up on it with JJ Jude, but how good Johnson Central's football team was.
Yeah.
They were a phenomenal football team, and they had some really, really athletic kids that would come from football and just do really, really well in wrestling. And uh, sometimes I wish that, this is the selfish side of me that wish they would have focused on wrestling because they would have been great wrestlers. But it's like, their football team is so phenomenal. It's like if wrestling was their second sport, they did pretty darn good at it,
Mhm.
being
Yeah.
good. John,
And
goes in the state.
it should be said. Of course, I live in Johnson County, so I know the history, if you will, of Johnson's football.
Yeah.
JJ Jew, two-time state champion. He also holds the Kentucky high school KHSAA record for
Mm.
most career yards in a career and the most career yards in a game. So, I mean, that's a pretty good accomplishment. Jordan Blanton, two-time state champion, 2015 and 2017. He was voted the Class 4A Player of the Year at the at the football final. So Byron Pierce, two-time heavyweight state champion. Matt Horn, 2019 state champion. So, like you said, the football program and the wrestling program, when Coach Matney was there, they just kind of married, and he's like, you know what, we're doing this thing, right?
They did a darn good job at it.
Yep.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I say that to the Johnson Central coaches at one point in this tournament. I'm like, you guys have some athletes, man. Like, regardless of the sport, you have some athletes, man. So congrats on what you're doing. Like, I never really got into it that deep, so it's cool to hear the history of it and how many accolades everyone had. Because I remember Jordan, never really got to know him too well, but I remember him. And I grew up watching JJ, so that was always fun to watch. And then getting the chance to wrestle Joe too and see kind of how everything happened there. So that's really cool.
All right, man. So we've talked enough. Looks like you got Jim Harden as your official. Here we go. So both you guys got on white. I love the white singlets in the finals. That's just such a great look.
Yeah, that's always SK's thing. It's a white singlet finals.
So Joe, I mean, he was the running back, the star running back on that team. I forget how many, what the 1,000-yard mark he hit or whatever, but he's a very shifty wrestler. And when I was watching, cutting this down, you kind of neutralized his athletic ability. you just kind of, I don't want to say manhandled, but you can tell your experience comes into play here.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt as though was the difference there. I don't think, and Nathan Boston tells me different every time I say this, but I don't feel like I was that athletic. I felt like I was a good wrestler because I had wrestled my whole life. But when I went against athletes, it was always hard for me to neutralize their athleticism. Like if they were really fast or if they were really strong, it was really hard for me sometimes.
And like I said, man, you're keeping Joe in check. I mean, he was so just shifty coming out of the backfield, or if it was a sweep on the like off tackle or up the middle, he was just so shifty with his feet. And now, like I said, you have really neutralized him. So here we go. You guys kind of lock up, and you hit this nice little throw. And once once this happens, it's over.
Yeah.
You get a pin. 1 minute, 21 seconds in the state finals. And
yeah, that for sure was nice little cap on the career. So it felt really good. I remember that.
Absolutely, man.
Person. So, props to you, but it didn't matter who crossed there. I felt confident. That was a good way to end the career. So I remember
that could not have capped your senior year off better. Now we also need to say you won the most pins in the least amount of time, all 5 pins in a total time of 10 minutes and 40 seconds. And you were also selected, or voted, I should say, as Simon Kenton's second most outstanding wrestler. Dave Barnes won it, 1988, 135 pounds. Of course, Dave went on in college and become a NCAA All-American. But like I said, you from all the names of Simon Kenton history, you were only the second state most outstanding wrestler, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, that definitely is. It's extremely cool to be mentioned with Dave because I wasn't necessarily always in the situation where I was coached by him, but throughout my youth, like some of my youth career, Dave was one of my coaches. And then, getting to kind of grow up and then put your name up there with someone that taught you fundamentals of the sport, it's definitely full circle. So, never going to take anything away from Dave, but definitely happy to be up there with him. So.
Yeah. And of course, Dave's review videos on the channel. We have his match video from '88, and we have we didn't put the whole match on, but we have his medal ceremony. And I believe the match he wins to become an All-American on his review video. So Simon Kenton fans, go check that out because, Dave is, he's a legend up in Northern Kentucky wrestling, legend of Kentucky wrestling. And it's, I didn't know that he was one of your elementary or youth coaches, I should say. So it's kind of cool.
Exactly what he did, but he was definitely involved. He coached me because I wrestled for Raiders, like Row Raiders youth when I was a kid, because Turkey Foot didn't have a youth program, whole thing. So I wrestled for Ryle for a little while, and I believe that he was one of the youth coaches, either for Ryle or for Walton, something like that. He knew my parents. He got so definitely got some influence from him, and it's really cool to see it kind of come to full circle where you're like, wow, like us two are the only two, and it's that's as of right now, we're shooting for more, but as of right now, that's what it looks like. It's like, wow, that's really, really cool.
And the 27 state champions at Simon Kenton, 1987 team state champions, just adding to that deep history, deep rooted tradition of Simon Kenton wrestling. And at some point, no matter if we're ready for it or not, high school ends. We have to move on with our life. That's the way it goes. After high school, where did the sport of wrestling take you?
Yeah, so I had gotten recruited to wrestle. I ended up choosing Army West Point to go wrestle. And I did a kind of what they would consider as like a red shirt year, because the academy don't have red shirts. You can't like go to school and not perform in athletics. So you can either take a year and do what you need to do, which for me was to become academically eligible to go to West Point because it's an Ivy League school and I wasn't there just yet. So I went to prep school for a year, competed at Division I, but it was only open tournaments. So I wrestled a lot of Division I guys, but I never wrestled for a Division I wrestling team. And then went to West Point for about 2 or 3 months and came home. I didn't really like it too much. So I came back home. Honestly, right at the beginning of COVID, kind of stepped away from wrestling for a little while because I came back for about it. And then I was working for about 1.5 years and stepped away from wrestling for a little while. And now I'm just now starting to get back into like, coming to high school practices and doing stuff like this, and coming to camps and stuff. So, take a little hiatus after, 12, 13 years or so, I think is well warranted, but I can't go too far away. It's definitely a sport that has my heart. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is good every now and then to no matter what it is in life, to take a vacation from it, if you will. Kind of what's the old saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Get out, do a couple things, and come back and be like, man, I didn't realize how much that I missed this. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be doing it. So man, I'm sure we'll be looking for you at some of the meets this year. Maybe you can yell at me, tell me how bad of a job I'm doing as an official, right?
Yeah, I'll try. I'll let other people know because there's no impact on me. So I'll just
Not
tell
well.
them.
I'm just kidding. But Casey, man, we like to end the videos here with giving whoever we're doing the video with the opportunity to say, anything they'd like to add, anything they'd like to say, or any shout outs they'd like to give. So, man, the floor is yours.
Well, I'd say the one thing about specifically what our topic is here today is wrestling is have fun with the sport for as long as you can have fun with it. Because the second you stop having fun with it, it becomes a chore or a duty, or to some people, they might equate that to like a job. And and being good at something, you can be good at something from working really, really hard, but a lot of the time you're not going to be great unless you're having fun. So, if you want to be great at something, you have to have fun and want to work really hard at it. If you can't do both of those things at the same time, it may not be something to do. But that was something I've learned for a long, long time. And it's something my stepdad instilled in me as a kid, is like extreme ownership. And if you're not having fun, then, course correct, figure it out. If, what you're doing is what's causing it, or how you're doing it's what's causing it, whatever the case is, but just try to have fun as long as possible, because it is a sport. It is not life and death. And
I think that's a good place to end. So, man, thank you again for being here doing this review series. I know a lot of people you've been brought up a bunch. Hey, man, when you gonna get with Casey Cornett? So glad we was finally able to get it on and let the world see, let the world hear just your story and just how good you were, and let the other Simon Kenton wrestlers coming up, give them something to shoot for. Let them be the third, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm counting on at least one of them. I went in the room like 1.5 weeks ago. I'm going to try to get in more often this year, but I was in there a couple of weeks ago, and they got some good kids on the team, man. So I'm excited this year, and talking to coach, we'll see how it goes. So
absolutely. And if they win it, become the third, whoever it may be from Simon Kenton, we'd love to have you. But guys, that's all that we have for now. We'll see you on the mats.